What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. If you're looking for the typical podcast on the Friday, I've got better stuff coming. I've got this is so much more fun to talk about, and this is going to take place of the typical Friday podcast. So I talked about it or teased it a little bit yesterday on Twitter. And I've got a good Xbox scoop here for you today. And as always, whenever I talk about Xbox, I always seem to get dumped on by like Reddit and other sites because they never doubt that or think that I could potentially be right. Even though earlier this year I was correct with the Halo Infinite name, first gen Elite controller I think I got, Xbox One S, Xbox Hobart, which was eventually canceled and all that good stuff. Putting myself on a pedestal aside. Let's just dive in, shall we? So Microsoft is working on some new Xbox hardware, and I'm not talking about Scarlett. Scarlett is designed and forecasted, or it's on track for a 2020 release. This is completely separate of that. Microsoft is working on a new Xbox One S console, and it's not going to have a disk drive. It's not. It's going to be a slim version, and it's solely focused on getting the lowest possible price for the Xbox One S console. Now, this is just a poorly put together artist rendition of what it will look like, but I've heard it looks just like an Xbox One S, but without the disk drive. And there's going to be some people who are freaking out about this because they're going to be thinking, oh my God, I have a massive pile of games that require me to put it in that slot to be able to play. Launching alongside with this, and I think this is going to be the holdup, Microsoft's got to get some publishers on board, I believe, is going to be what they call a disc-to-digital program. And it's exactly as the name sounds. You take your physical disc to a participating retailer, such as the Microsoft Store. You take whatever game it is, Halo, give it to them, and they will give you back a digital entitlement, which basically just means you can go over to this thing, go to the store, and download the game that you had on a disc. And if this all sounds familiar, Microsoft actually had a very similar program to when the Xbox One was originally announced, but they had to can because people were angry because they wanted to resell their games. Whatever. Microsoft is getting prepared to ship this thing. I'm hearing that it's going to ship potentially in the spring of 2019, or it could potentially be earlier. I'm not exactly sure. The timeline is still a little fluid here, but I'm fairly confident we are going to be seeing this. And this is really interesting timing because Sony just announced that they are not going to be at E3. And if Microsoft does launch this in the spring, as I kind of think they're going to own this spring because Sony's going to they're not going to have any presence at E3. And it doesn't sound like they're going to have their own event or doing something else. And then Microsoft's going to show up and say, hey, look, here it is. And the key here is Microsoft is targeting a $199 price point or lower for this console. And that's not all, folks. So if you take this $199 price point, and for one additional dollar, at least right now, it might be $10 at the time, you can sign up for Xbox Game Pass. So effectively, for $200, you can get a console and access to 100 games for $200. That is fantastic value. Microsoft is definitely doing the right things. And then also later in 2019, Microsoft is working on a more traditional Xbox One S that has the disk drive, but I think they're going to be cutting a few other features because they're trying to lower that price as well. They're not giving up on disc users. Don't think that Microsoft is just like throwing them to the wayside and diskless is the future. That is absolutely not the case here. People are going to be freaking out about that too. Don't be. Just wait until later in the year and you will see, I believe, if they ship it, because again, we're talking about a year away at this point, a disc version of the Xbox One S, but they might cut a few features to get that price point lower. I don't think storage is going to be one of them, but you could probably think of some of the other things that aren't necessarily used on the console strictly for gaming to lower that entry price. Microsoft's entire goal, I believe, for 2019 is about lowering the entry price into the Xbox family. We've already seen a $100 price cut from the Xbox One X, which is right back here, as I just knocked over my Amazon device, right back here for Black Friday. And I think 2019, we're going to see that accelerate. Microsoft knows that if they can get people into the hardware family of the Xbox brand, then they can monetize them through things like Xbox Live, Game Pass, and all that good stuff. And so this is going to be a really interesting tactic if Microsoft can get there. I don't know the name either, by the way. It might just be Xbox One S Slim. A lot of people are referring to it as the ODD or optical disc drive less Xbox One. Whatever it is, Microsoft is on the path to lower that price point, and the timing is perfect for this. And so there you go. That is kind of the big hardware scoop from Microsoft. They might have a couple other things. We're still looking out for that controller the Elite V2 controller, but I don't think this is along that lines. To recap here, coming next year, I'm at least at this time, obviously everything is up for change. And I've seen Xbox products like Hobart get canceled in the past, but I don't think this one's going down that path. Recapping here, we have the Xbox One S Slim, as I would call it, has no disk drive, $199 price point with a disc-to-digital trade-in program. Then we have, later in the year, a new Xbox One S console. Granted, this might look exactly the same on the outside, but it's going to just cost less. It's going to be a cost reduction iteration. That's not a big surprise. Microsoft does that kind of stuff. Now, the other question is, what happens to Scarlett? Scarlett is the next-gen stuff. It is my understanding right now that Microsoft hasn't decided if it's actually going to have a disc or not. I suspect that they will, or at least have some sort of option, because to totally abandon discs would seem crazy. And Phil Spencer, while he is kind of crazy with the hardware compared to what we're historically done, he's not dumb. I'm a big fan of Phil Spencer. I think he's doing a wonderful job for the Xbox brand. And despite the fact that they're getting beat pretty badly in the sales segment, I mean, there's no other way to describe it. But he inherited this. I think the future looks incredibly bright because you have the streaming service, you have Scarlett, you have this diskless console. Microsoft is throwing literally everything they can at the market, and that includes buying studios. They announced 2 acquisitions at last week down in Mexico City, and so for Microsoft, this is a huge bet. There is no doubt that Microsoft is going all in on the console wars, and I hope you enjoyed this little bit of scoop, and there you go. All this information, by the way, came from my upcoming book called Beneath a Surface. If you like this type of information, check out that pre-order below. The book is going to come out on the 29th, and this is something I was just uncovering along the way while doing research for that project that tells the full narrative of how Microsoft built the Surface brand from the inside and out, including a hardware roadmap for Microsoft for 2019 and 2020 for the Surface brand. Check out that pre-order, guys. Thanks always. Subscribe, thumbs up, whatever the hell you feel like doing or contributing. Love you guys as always. Later.